Welcome back, and we're so glad to have you back with us this evening. And we've still got Susan Holecheck and Albert Bass with us, and we're going to be talking about local bus transportation in the town of Pahrump. There's a lot of information, so again, I hope you have your pens, your paper to write down information. If you have any questions, you can always call either one of these individuals,
yes.
And we're going to give you their phone numbers and their contact information, and they have so much information they want to provide. And big question I have is, how are we going to pay for this?
Well, the majority of the funding comes from NDOT, the Nevada Department of Transportation. That's part of the funding stream that is funneled down through the FTA to the local governments and the local departments of transportation. And the funding that we're looking at is the 5311 funding, which is for populations of less than 50,000. So it's for rural communities only. That's specifically what these grants are identified for. And those grants cover, on a weighted average, about 67% of your overall program budget. The remaining parts of that have to be made up through matching funds, which is business contributions, other types of grants. For example, the Aging and Disability Service grants, the Nevada Department of Veteran Services, those grants, and community funding, community donations, marketing and advertising, the revenue coming into the program can all make up that additional amount. So
if people wanted to donate and help out with this, what would they do?
They can contact myself at the Nye Communities Coalition or stop by the Nye Communities Coalition and offer a donation to the program. We've actually received a total of about $28,000 over the last couple of months in donations to the program and financial contributions.
Those are pledges, correct?
Pledges to the program.
Okay.
When we have to give kudos to Pastor Ron. He has been
very hard.
really active in the community. He has had pledge sheets, and the pledges are wonderful. You can do a one-time pledge, you could do a monthly pledge, an annual. It makes no difference.
Okay.
But those
and
are very
if they
important
wanted a pledge sheet, where would they get a pledge sheet?
I've got some at the office. I'm sure Albert does at Nye County, and absolutely. And the good part about it is we understand. If you pledge today, we're not going to be seeking those monies until after we got word whether we were approved, which is probably October. That's when we might call upon you to fulfill your pledge. But we understand if circumstances change during that period of time. And unfortunately, they say, you know what, I had great intentions, but things have happened in my life. So we don't want to make people say, gee, I'm not sure if I should pledge because something may change. Go ahead and make the pledge, and we'll see how it is when it comes time to collect the money.
That shows goodwill anyway.
Yeah,
I think so.
Absolutely. Yeah. And those are necessary when we apply for the grants, putting those pledges in. That's one thing that NDOT wants to see, is that we have matching support coming in, we have funding support and community support.
Okay, now how would this operate? I know you talked about people calling 24 hours in advance for a bus. Who would they call, and how do you plan to set that up?
Well, we'll have a dispatcher, of course, and a scheduling office that's always open, and that would be taking calls Monday through Friday as well. You could call it in the evenings or weekends and leave a voicemail so that you have that call in advance. We want to make sure that we get that recorded. But all of that will be set up and established. Once we know that we have the grants approved through NDOT, it'll be a couple, 2 to 3 months of really focusing on the internal development part of the program and making sure that we have the infrastructure set up before we actually launch and get the buses rolling.
So let me get this straight. We're talking about maybe starting in October.
Well, funding would be approved.
Funding would be approved in October.
I think realistically, I think in fairness to the people, I think if we say January, that is a bit more realistic. I would hate to have people, you know, hope that everything's up in place by October, November, because it will take, there's driver training that needs to occur. Albert has been working on policies. We need to make sure all the insurance is in place. And so there's logistical things like that are really going to be intense for probably at least 2 months. And that isn't even hiring a transit coordinator.
So at least 2 solid months worth of work once we get that approved.
So basically in October, we'll know if we're moving forward.
Correctly, yes.
And then plan on January of 2017, and then we can start seeing people, bodies on buses.
That's right.
Well, and as you know, as a former town board member, we are probably going to have to go through the RFP or the RFQ process. When I say that, request for proposal or request for quote, right? And so those processes, the RFPs or RFQs, they have an inherent time in there that you have to allow. So
Yes.
that may push it out just a little bit as well if we have to go that path.
Okay.
Sometimes they require like 60 days or whatever.
30 to
so,
60?
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Absolutely. Okay. To me, it sounds like we've got things pretty well under control. I like this. And I think
great.
everybody listening will appreciate it as well. You may have a car and you may decide, look, I'd like to try the transportation just to see how it works, and then you end up enjoying it.
Yep.
Hey, this is something really beneficial. You did talk about veteran transportation too. What is that all about?
Well, part of the matching funds program for the overall bus service that we're looking to launch at the end of the year came out of the NDVS, the Nevada Department of Veteran Services. They have a transportation grant of $50,000 that they award to rural communities that meet the demographics of their criteria. So in talking with them, I believe it was in February, their grant application deadline was last October, but they allowed us to submit a grant anyways, and they got it approved for us last month. We were awarded that grant for $50,000. So it's allowing us to get a veterans transportation program started as early as next month.
Oh,
so that could
okay.
operate through the summer. And so our goal is to get that program launched the first week of June. So there's a lot of work happening right now to make sure that we can try to get that established the first week of June.
Oh, that's truly outstanding.
And this has all been because we actually got an additional bus that we weren't even seeking at the
I
time.
was going to ask. Now, I know these buses are expensive, and how much do they cost?
Well, originally these buses were about $87,000 a piece when they were built for the UTA, which is Utah Transit Authority, back in 2008 when they were ordered. We were able to acquire them for $2.50 a piece.
$2.50 a piece.
Right. We had
Oh,
to travel
great.
up there to bring them back here, but that was our cost for the DMV fees on getting the buses transferred over to us.
Oh, that's fantastic. So we saved the town of Pahrump and the county of Nye a lot of money.
Yeah,
A lot.
In the original plan that we were looking at a couple of years ago, we had about $300,000 to $350,000 in there for vehicles. With being able to do that and getting those donated, we were able to take that completely out of the budget.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Huge cost savings.
Yes.
And the very fact that they're equipped. I mean, they've got 3 of them have bicycle racks. They came with a lot of equipment, like the straps for wheelchair.
Okay. Okay.
So they actually came with additional value, if that makes any sense at all, because the
You
bike
also have the
racks are-
wheelchair lifts.
Absolutely, absolutely. So
Yeah, they are all fully ADA accessible, and we could actually carry up to 10 regular passengers and 3 wheelchair passengers at the same time.
that's why it's going to be so important for the veterans, because under the DAV, you know, they can't have people wearing oxygen, and
Okay.
they have difficulty transporting. I think I'm correct in saying this. They cannot transport anyone in a
In wheelchairs or
wheelchair.
scooters.
And so this bus is just going to help the veterans so much.
So the current veteran transportation is limited, and this will take up,
Right.
I take up that gap where
Yes.
the local veteran transportation can't do it.
And that's
Well,
the plan really for this whole transportation program, is to fill the gaps in the community.
Okay.
And for the people that are currently not able to receive services or can't afford the services that are available. And so it's really trying to fill the gaps so that we can have the whole community have some type of transportation access.
And the DAV can only transport to veteran facilities. So this, as Albert is saying, I mean, when you think in terms of somebody going to get their eyes checked, they could go to Walmart or whatever. So this is going to be able to give them a ride to CVS, say, or Walgreens to get a prescription. So it really does fill the gaps that DAV can't, unfortunately. They can't transport them to certain appointments.
Okay, so if a veteran needed to have his medication, or if he had an appointment, say, on the choice program with a doctor outside of the VA system, this bus could take him there.
Absolutely.
Correct. Correct.
But it's got to be a medical appointment or a prescription.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And if they have a prescription being filled, say at CVS or Walmart, and they want to do some shopping in there at the same time, that's okay?
Yeah, that's up to them, as long as they're going for a prescription.
That's right. The ride will be recorded as a transport to Walgreens or a transport to CVS.
Correct.
So what happens, we don't time people.
That sounds great. Now, what about drivers? How are you going to get drivers?
Well, actually, so applications are being made available as of today. Tomorrow from 9 to 12, I believe, at the Nye Communities Coalition, they were having their job fair. And so I'll have a table set up there with some applications if people are interested in filling out an application to be a driver for this program and the bus program coming at the end of the year. And we have some applications going out through email to some other organizations so that we can get that out. This will be very limited, of course, in our service, so we won't need a lot of drivers for this. 2 or 3 should be sufficient. But we want to start looking at that this week and getting some applications into us as soon as possible.
I've actually had someone call from Elko, I think it was, or Ely, saying they were moving to Pahrump and they're a bus driver and they heard about our program and they want to be a bus driver.
Yep.
Isn't that, the world is amazing.
This is fantastic.
People in Vegas, because I've gotten phone calls from people in Las Vegas that are moving to Pahrump, that are asking if there are any driver positions available. So how the information is getting into Vegas, I'm not sure, but because I haven't been talking in Vegas. I'm sure Susan hasn't.
I haven't. So.
But the word's getting out there.
Maybe they're watching this show.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
In addition to it being on YouTube, it's also on the TV station's website, and you can watch it on the computer, so it's very possible people are watching that.
And you know, I did learn, I go to a few different committee meetings in Las Vegas, and there are people there who read online our newspapers.
Okay.
Yes.
And so as information gets out in the newspaper, they're reading it in those other areas. And I'm sure, you know, we had somebody from Alaska last year who goes online to read the Pahrump newspaper, because they used to live here many years ago. And they're still interested in what's happening in Pahrump.
This is
Technology
fantastic.
is amazing.
Yeah.
I want everybody to think about the fact that we're looking at local bus transportation in the town of Pahrump, maybe starting at the end of the year, the beginning of next year, and we're looking at veteran transportation strictly for veterans and the medical needs, and this would be starting in June of this year. So we're talking next month.
Right.
And let me just, if I may, stress that the ride on VetTrans is completely at no cost, not only for the veteran, but the spouse that might be accompanying the veteran or the caregiver accompanying the veteran.
So if there's no cost, who pays for this?
That's all under the Nevada Department of Veteran Services grant that we've received to initiate this program.
That's even better. We're doing something for veterans at no cost to the community at all.
Right, absolutely.
And we've got a bus that costs us $2.50.
Yeah.
Oh, guys, it couldn't get any better than this.
It's wonderful. It's about time.
Look, I just want to say, I want to thank both of you for being here today.
Absolutely.
And for telling our community about what's going on. We have so much going on, not only for veterans, but for the community. And the hard work that you and your committee is doing to make this happen for all of you. I hope you've taken some notes, and I hope you'll call Susan or Albert and ask them questions if you have any questions at all. And also to call them to say thanks for what they're doing. This is our community. We live here, and there's just so much available to us. And we need to take advantage of it and thank the people who are working so hard to make it happen. Anything you'd like to say in closing?
Thank you to the committee very much.
Yeah, the committee has been very helpful in moving forward, and the community as a whole in supporting us and contacting the commissioners to let them know that they support the program has been a huge part of moving forward.
Okay. We want to say thanks to all of you. Thanks again, and I want you to stand by for the next session because we do have some more things going on for you. And we'll see you on the next session. Thank you.